Got it. Okay. As a teacher of young children, how would you support your students' early literature skills or literacy skills? What is the relationship between listening and speaking and reading and writing? How can listening and speaking prepare children to become effective readers and writers?
I can go first. How we can support our students' early literacy skills is by engaging in joint reading and writing with them, storytelling, playing rhyming games with them, like giving them as much exposure to literacy and doing activities that involve them into their joint participation in all the letters, reading, text, everything around them. Asking them open-ended questions, and also giving them a print-rich environment. Everything supports their literacy skills. And what is the relationship between listening and speaking and reading and writing is like listening and speaking are the foundational skills, and then comes reading and writing. Once children are able to pay attention to what's being talked and are able to produce words, they can use that foundational skills to do their reading and writing. Like I think the listening and speaking comes first, and then reading and writing follows. So they do have a very close connection. Yeah, I think that is it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's kind of like emergent like literature. So like kids are like listening before like they're actually reading, and they're following along, and that kind of just prepares them for reading and writing. And then, yeah, I would just say, you know, like when kids listen or even when kids speak, they kind of like pick up on cues. Like I had a student today, and he was talking about like black bears because he really likes bears, and he was asking me like what the letters start with, and like that's just kind of preparing him too to become more of an effective reader and writer.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys said. And one thing that I always try to do when I'm reading to my kids, especially if I'm using a big book, is I try to point to the print that I am reading so they can see how the words flow on the pages. And then I have this special highlighting tape that you can get at the teacher store. And when you can put the tape over specific words that you really want to stick out if you want to pull some vocabulary out. And then you can easily pull it right off the page and it won't rip it. And again, you guys are right when you say with the listening and the speaking, how that has to happen first before you can get to the reading and the writing. And the listening and speaking does prepare the children to become effective readers, because I think without that, they don't have the comprehension to be able to do those.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I do in my room is we label the toys and their pictures in their cubbies. So although they're not, we don't push reading in our room by any means, but having those slight literacy things around, as well as we'll start with songs, and then we'll do the rhyming of the songs, and then I'll find a book. We just did it with Itsy Bitsy Spider, Humpty Dumpty, and we sing the songs first, then we go to print. So the kids already know what's going to happen within this book, but they're like, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. They're seeing a big picture of Humpty. Like it just promotes that without forcing the literacy. And I think at a young age, it's important to promote, not force, and just subtly like integrate it. But I think that they all intertwine because there's different types of literacy. Listening and speaking, reading and writing. I think that literacy helps with listening and speaking, because if you like practice with your children, like you're reading a book to them, they'll be able to digest it and maybe build the confidence to say what you're saying to them, repetition back. And then reading and writing, I think, go hand in hand. Once you start sounding it out and you're able to read the words, you're able to better write. And it's been known that if you are a better reader, you become a better writer, especially in the early years.
My biggest thing is, since I work with kids who are 3 and then all the way up to third and fifth graders, I guess. My biggest thing is I just like to talk to them, like especially in extended care in our after school program. And like our after school program isn't necessarily about like teaching and education, but it's so important for them to like have someone constantly talking to them. So like when I'm with them, I'm constantly talking. Are they responding? Most of the time, no. But listening to me speak to them and like constantly like building that relationship up between them brings out the speaking. So I have seen students go from kids who don't talk and will not talk even if you talk to them, to students who come up to me now and they're like, Miss Mercer, look at this, look at that. And it's such an amazing thing because like you think like, oh, like that's because people like don't stop talking to them and they're learning, and it's that's my biggest thing that I like to do to help kids with their early literacy skills.
Yeah, I agree that it's important, all with what all of you ladies have said, especially with the talking to children, even when they're small, starting from when they're babies. Of course, they can't read, they don't know what you're talking about, but the more that you talk to them, they're discovering, they're learning more language, they're hearing words, and eventually they'll learn, pick up on those words. You know, that's even like for as far as with we have children who are from other countries. Well, they say that when children are learning to speak, they pick up on their native language first because that's what they hear all the time. So if the children are hearing these words repeated over and over again and you're talking to them, that helps them when it becomes time for them to start reading books. Because then they're able, like, oh yeah, they've heard that word before. So some words, and then it becomes easier when you start showing them how to spell those words. Because there's a little girl in my room when we're doing the shapes. We get to the octagon, she was like, it's a stop sign is shaped like the octagon. She starts trying to, it's spelled S-T-P-O. I was like, close, my friend, S-T-O-P. So, you know, that just environmental literature, environmental print, everything they see around them, even in the classroom, when they're in the cars. So all of those things help them to become, with their learning, they listen for the words, and then when they start seeing the letters, all those things help them become better writers and better readers.
I agree with every single one of you. Definitely in early childhood, it's all like repetition. Speaking to the kid, exposing them to the print-rich classrooms, print-rich, things that they will start to pick up and things like that. And it all plays hand in hand. So, I mean, honestly, everything that you guys have mentioned goes directly into that. So.
Okay, the next one, excuse me. The period between preschool and third grade is a tipping point in a child's journey toward lifelong learning. From learning to read to reading to learn, if children do not have proficient reading skills by third grade, their ability to progress through school and meet grade level expectations diminishes significantly. Choose 3 popular children's books typically found in early childhood environments. These books can be ones that you have read or ones that you enjoyed as a child, and then use figure 10.2 to see if your books that you chose hit the high quality marks for books. The 3 that I chose, there's a monster at the end of the book by John Stone, Don't Touch My Hair by Sherry Miller, Don't Push the Button by Bill Cotter. Marissa chose,
I want to read it.
oh, go ahead.
The first one is definitely Do Not Open This Book by Andy Lee, Black is a Rainbow Color by Angela Joy, and My Many Colored Days by Dr. Seuss.
I
Okay.
chose Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, Brown Bear, What Do You See, and The Rainbow Fish.
I chose Llama Llama Red Pajama, A Pocket for Corduroy, and the classic, Just slipped my mind because my child just made a noise. And the classic book of Pete the Cat and his groovy butt.
I did Where's Spot, Don't Push the Button, and an interactive book we love, Home Sweet Home.
And I chose The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle, that I'm sure we all have read. Llama Llama, Red Pajama, and We Are Different, We Are Different, We Are the Same. I really like this book. It talks about multiculturalism and how countries apart in the world are so different but still so same.
And I chose Where the Wild Things Are, Goodnight Moon, and Pete the Cat rocking his new shoes.
Okay. And then when we look at the list, I think that all of the books that we named off are interesting and enjoyable. Let me close that out. I believe that they are developmentally appropriate for the audience. The length and the topic, the amount of text that's on each page, print style, print size, location of the print, should be easy for the children to understand that reading in English proceeds from left to right and top to bottom. So again, like I said, pointing to the words as we're reading. All of the books that you guys have mentioned are easy to do that with. Literacy value, credible, consistent, realistic characters, descriptive, rich language, interesting, engaging. A lot of the books, especially like the Don't Touch the Book. I think there was one that you named off, Marissa, that also sounds like a book that's very engaging.
Yeah, it's interactive. Definitely do not open this book. It's so funny. It's like one of like many that he has written like that.
Yeah. And then with the realistic characters, that's kind of where I went with Don't Touch My Hair. It also is multicultural. We have some friends in our classrooms and we got that book to teach them that we just can't walk up and just touch somebody's hair. And it kind of goes through the emotions the little girl has about random strangers just touching her hair because her hair is just big and beautiful and curly. And she would rather have people ask her before they touch her hair. I would say that the illustrations and photographs are very high quality in all of the books that we've mentioned. I feel like they are all free from stereotypes. We did mention some cultural books. They are authentic and the author needs to have the authority to speak for the group or at least some members of the group. I feel like some of the books that I chose and some of the ones that you guys did are appealing to me. I'm an adult, so I think that works. And quality binding and paper that will last through many readings. Absolutely. And, you know, I know when assessors come out, they say that for preschool age, you're not supposed to have the cardboard books, but like the Don't Push the Button, that is a preschool age book, but it is made on cardboard because it is meant for the children to physically interact with the book. And in order for that book not to get ruined, it needs to be a thick cardboard book. So I would say that all of the books that we have chosen have hit everything in this area here.
Awesome.
Anybody have anything to add?
Nope.
Very good.
Black is a Rainbow Color is also a multicultural book.
Love that book.
I just think it's important, no matter what book it is, how you present it to the children as well, right? Like these are books that we're passionate about, but if there are those terrible books or very dull books, take them out. Or, you know, if you're not bringing the excitement with it, the kids can feel that, you know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Sure.